Hi everyone. I hope you're well. I'm doing well as well. I have just about recovered from the Crafters Retreat, Christmas Crafters Retreat, which we had last weekend. Wow, it was a very packed couple of days in the beautiful Riverside Lodge Hotel out in Irving. We did so many crafty, creative projects. We had such a great time. But I will admit, we were overly ambitious how much we thought we would manage to get through. And so this is one of the projects that we didn't have time for at the weekend. Attendees to the retreat did get given the full instructions and all the pieces that were needed, all of the card, all of the DSP, the ribbon, the embellishments, everything. So that was included in their pack, but we didn't have time to demonstrate it. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. If you're watching this thinking, oh, but I like the box and I'd really like to know the instructions, but I didn't go to the retreat, well, I have got good news for you. You can have the instructions too. When I finish posting this video, I will put a link in the comments to my website. And if you click on the link, you can put in your email address. And on Friday, I will send out copies of the instructions to anybody who wants them. So it's not just for the retreat attendees. You can have the instructions for this project as well. Okay, hi to everyone who's logging on. Hi to everybody who's watching on YouTube. I can't see the YouTube comments, but I can see the ones on Facebook. So please do say hi and hello. Let's skip round to it then. Now then, oh yes. So before I get started on the crafting, I just want to very quickly remind you that the last chance sale has started for the September to December mini catalogue for the Christmas, the autumn winter catalogue. Some of the items are already gone because they've been so popular, they've sold out and that's it, they're now discontinued. There are items, obviously there are still items still available, and some of them have got discounts of up to 60% off. So I would encourage you, check out the website ASAP. If there's something you want, grab it quickly before it's gone. Right, now this is what you're here to see. Here you go. Hi to everyone who's logging on. This is the gift box, and you'll see there are little drawers that pull out across all four sides. And in these drawers, we fit little tags. Let's see, to and from on the back. And they have the tags. Okay, so this is what we're going to make. I am going to crack on and I'm just going to get started because I don't know how long this is going to take me. Remember, if I'm going too fast for you to craft along with me, I'm going to be cutting all of the pieces. I will try and do things without going too fast because I know many of you are following on. Remember, you can always come back and watch this video on Facebook later, or you can watch it on YouTube and you can stop and start and pause and rewind and everything. If anything I do isn't clear, if it doesn't make sense, please do put a question in the comments. I am watching the comments and I'm more than happy to stop and explain something or answer any questions that are related to this project. And just as a reminder for those who have logged on a little bit late, I will be offering the instructions for this project. So the instructions which have what you need, step-by-step instructions across 2 different pages. So we've got 2 different pages of instructions and the cutting guides, which explain to you how to cut out all the pieces. So I will put the link to that in the comments at the end of this video, and you can go to the website and you can put in your email address, and I'm going to be sending out all of the instructions on Friday. Right, let's jump to this. Okay, so I'm going to start out by cutting all of the pieces. And in the instructions, what you will need is 1 piece of basic white cardstock. That's the standard cardstock, not the thick cardstock. You will need 3, 1, 2, 3, she says, I have got 3 sheets of cherry cobbler. And you will need 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets of shaded spruce. I am going to be cutting these sheets 1 at a time. I can probably cut 2 at a time if it's the basic white, but I wouldn't risk it with the other pieces of cardstock. So just so you know, that's what I'm going to be doing. All right, I am turning to the first page of my cutting guide, which is page 3 in the instructions. This is my cherry cobbler cardstock, and I need 2 of everything. So you'll see if you choose to go for the instructions, up at the top it says cherry cobbler cardstock cut 2. So starting off, we're cutting 19 centimeters by 19 centimeters. This project is completely in centimeters, apart from a little bit with the DSP where I went rogue and I think it's in inches. So, but most of it is going to be in centimeters. Okay, so I have my square, which is 19 by 19, the little thin bit I'm going to put away. The big bit that came off the bottom, I am going to cut that at 10.5 centimeters. Actually, I'm going to do it this way first. 14 centimeters. 14 by 10.5. It's pretty much 10.5 anyway. Just that tiny, tiny little sliver to take off. And then 6 by 6. So 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters. Okay, so when you've finished with piece 1, you should have a big square, a largest rectangle, and a small square. And then I'm going to do that completely again. So exactly the same as before. I'm doing 19 centimeters by 19 centimeters. Then I'm going to take this piece here. Do you know what? It's, yeah, no, I am just going to very neatly trim it down. So 14 by 10.5. It helps that I have just put a fresh blade in, she says, making a rip of that. That's annoying. This is, oh no, it's the other trimmer I put the blade into. Do you know what? I am going to take a spare piece and just cut that properly. Make sure you have better blades, guys. If you need a new blade, put in a new blade. Don't let this happen to you. Right, 10.5 by 14. And then another piece, which is 6 by 6. I don't actually think you need the second piece that's 6 by 6, but I'm going to cut it anyway, just in case. Because it does say on the cutting guide, cut twice. So, put those scraps to one side. So, just to recap where we are so far, I have 2 little squares that are 6 by 6. That's all right, Shona, don't worry. I have 2 rectangles that are 14 by 10.5. And I have 2 large squares that are 19 by 19. Okay, so we have 6 pieces cut so far. I'm now going to cut my 3rd sheet of cherry cobbler. And this one, I'm going to cut it first of all at 10 centimeters. And I want it to be 21 wide. So all I'm going to do is cut that to 10 centimeters. And then I'm going to do the same here again, 10 centimeters. So again, 10 centimeters by 21. Then the last one, I'm going to cut to 6 centimeters, like so. And this piece, I'm going to cut in half, so that's at 10.5. Okay, so I've got 2 identical pieces. There we go. So 2 long rectangles and 2 small rectangles. That is all of my cherry cobbler cardstock that I need to cut. So next we are going to shaded spruce. So this one, to start off with, 18 centimeters by 18 centimeters. For those of you who were at the retreat, I know some of you have cut out all your pieces already. Good for you. This one I'm going to cut to 14 by 10.5. There we go. So you have 2 pieces, one that's a big square and one that's quite a large rectangle. You're going to do exactly the same again, okay? 18 centimeters by 18 centimeters. And then the other piece, you're going to cut it at 14 centimeters by 10.5. Okay, so far we have 2 of them and 2 of them. Next, we are going to go to the 4th page of cutting guides. This is the second one about shaded spruce. So I'm just following the pages down. And this one's going to look very familiar to what you've just done in Cherry Cobbler. We're going to cut this at 10 centimeters. And I want it 21 wide. And then I'm going to take it again to 10 centimeters by 21 wide. So I've got 2 of those. And I'm going to take it to 6 centimeters. And then I'm going to cut that in half at 10.5. There we go. All right. On to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th page of the cutting guides. This is still shaded spruce. And I want a piece that is 10.5 by 10.5. There you go. Right, 10.5 square. Final page of the cutting guide, and we're on to our basic white. So I'm actually going to fold in my arm because I don't need the arm anymore. I am going to cut at 5.5 centimeters. And then I'm just going to cut again at 5.5 centimeters. And I'm going to cut again at 5.5 centimeters. Okay. And then just now, I'm going to cut this at 11 centimeters. And turn this piece around and cut it again at 11 centimeters. So I have a square that is 11 by 11. Now my strips that I've cut here, I'm going to cut at 5.5 centimeters. No, 7.5. See, Emma? 7.5 centimeters. Get a piece like that. And cut again, 7.5. And then the last piece, I'm going to cut at 5.5 to give me a 5.5 square. If I had done it the other way around, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. Let's do the same thing again. In fact, let's do it the other way around. Start off with my 5.5. Makes no difference which order, whether you start from left to right or from right to left. The outcome is still going to be the same. So I've done a 5.51. This is a 7.51. And then I'll finish with another 7.5. There we go. And then finally, I need 3 more pieces that are 5.5. 1, 2, 3. Give me a wee shout out or a smile or a hands up in the comments if you've already cut all your pieces out. If you were at the retreat and had the instructions. Just because I'm nosy. Oh, actually, before we move off, am I going to cut my DSP? Yeah, let's just cut the DSP just now. Now I'm realizing that the DSP doesn't have a cutting guide, but it is just squares. So I'm just going to look to see which page I'm going to do, and I think it was this sheet that I did last time, so I'm just going to stick to it again because I like it. I'm going to cut this piece of DSP that is 6 by 6. So the easiest way to do this is just to push it all the way down. If you've got the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, push it all the way down to the bottom and cut in half, and then turn it 90 degrees and do the same. Cut it all the way down to the bottom and cut it in half. That will give you a 6 by 6 square. Okay, that'll go there. And then my second piece of DSP, I want it to be 5 inches by 5 inches. So DSP is measured in inches. That's why it's easier to cut it in inches. I find it easier, and I'm the one doing this project. So here we go. Right, 5 centimeters by. I'm just gonna flip this over because I've already got a piece cut out. This just makes it easier for me. There we go. The DSP that I'm using, so this is the Joyful Speciality Designer Series paper, and then the other one is the Joy of Noel. I think it's called Joy of Noel. Joy of Christmas. Joy of Christmas Designer Series specialty paper. There we go. So now I have my 2 pieces, a 6 by 6 and a 5 by 5. That is all our pieces. Okay, so just before I start crafting, I'm just going to do a very quick recap. You've got 2 squares of DSP. You should have 4 basic white rectangles that are 7.5 by 5.5. You should have 5 basic white squares that are 5.5 by 5.5. You should have another basic white square which is 11 by 11. You should have a shaded spruce square that's 10.5 by 10.5. You should have 2 long thin shaded spruce rectangles, 2 long shaded spruce rectangles, 2 medium shaded spruce rectangles, and 2 shaded spruce squares. And then you should have 2 small cherry cobbler rectangles, which will be the same size as those ones. You'll have 2 long cherry cobbler rectangles, which will be the same size as those ones. You should have 2 medium cherry cobbler rectangles, same size as those ones. Starting to see a pattern here. You should have, well, you should have 2, but I think you actually only need 1 cherry cobbler square that is 6 by 6. And then you should have 2 cherry cobbler squares that are 19 by 19. Right, now that we have gathered all of our pieces, we're going to start off by assembling the drawer element. Okay, so it's this part here that we're going to assemble first. So I'm going to put all of these pieces to one side, apart from my rectangles that measure 14 by 10.5. That's what we're using first. Okay, I'm going to start with the cherry cobbler piece. At this point, we are not doing any cutting, we are only scoring. So if you want to take your cutting blade out of the trimmer, just there's a little notch at the right hand side. If you want to take that out so that you don't accidentally cut when you mean to score, feel free. And we are going to score along all 4 sides at 2 centimeters. Okay, so 2. I'm using the centimeter measurement up at the top part because I find that easier. 2, 2, 2, and 2. I have realised I don't have my bone folder. One moment, folks. I've unpacked pretty much everything from the retreat, but there's still a few boxes and a few bits and pieces. So you're going to, once you've done your scoring, 2 centimeters round all sides, you're going to cut with, burnish well with your bone folder. Now, this is going to be your drawer. The drawer has a little notch in it so that you can stick your finger in and pull it out. So to create that notch, I'm using just a circle punch that I had. This one happens to be the 3/4 inches, but you can use any circle punch or die that you've got. And I'm going to line that up in the center of one side of my rectangle only, and I'm going to punch out that little notch. it is very important that you do this before you glue the whole drawer together. You want to ask me how I know? Okay, then you're going to just trim in at two sides, top and bottom, to create what I call an H box. Okay, now I prefer doing it with the long edge towards me so that it creates this, because then I think it's neater at the front. Okay, I'm going to take my trusty Tombow. Tell you, the Tombow got a really good workout over the weekend. And I'm going to do, with my drawer in this orientation, I'm going to first do, oh, come on. Use a different Tombow. It's all bunged up. Let's have some Imodium. There we go. I'm going to do the top, both corners, and then I'm going to fold that in and just hold them down just to create that box. Tombow's very forgiving. It'll let you move it around if you've done it too much or if you haven't done it enough. There we go. So I've done two sides. Now I'm going to put the glue on the other sides. And I'm going to tuck those in and do the same again. Okay, so you're basically creating like a little tray that's going to hold your gift tags. Okay, there we go. I hope that was easy to follow. If it wasn't, don't worry, I'm about to do the same thing another 3 times. So we're going to make 4 of these drawers. So let's do these together. Take another piece that's 14 by 10.5, and you're going to score across all 4 edges. At this stage, what I might actually do is do all the scoring and then do all the cutting and all the gluing. So let's take our pieces, scoring 2 centimetres round every side. So one thing that we noticed at the retreat, see sometimes when you're scoring, if it's not scoring particularly deeply and it doesn't look as if it's coming off, check that you've taken off the protective film on the top of your trimmer. Sometimes people buy the trimmers and they don't realise that there's a protective film on the top. And just removing that tiny layer, it doesn't seem like much, but it actually does make a difference to your scoring. The other thing that you should be careful with if you're scoring designer series paper, like our pattern paper, you don't want to push too hard, because sometimes our scoring blade is a really good one, and it will cut through thin paper if you push too hard when you're scoring. All right, so remembering to do my notches. Very important that you do your notches before you glue the things together. It's not impossible to put the notch in afterwards, but it is not easy. But this is why you watch these demonstrations, guys, isn't it? To get the tips and tricks. Let me make the mistake so you don't have to. There we go. Right. Fold over all 4 sides. For those of you who are crafting along, who were at the retreat and who are making one of these boxes along at the same time as me, or later when you watch the replay, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to give it away as a gift? Are you going to keep it yourself and treasure it? What do you think? Is this the sort of thing that you would give as a gift? Or is it too special? If you've made this all by yourself, is it too special to give away? Let me know in the comments what you think. Although I do appreciate that there's maybe not many comments because you're all busy crafting. And so if you are up to your eyeballs in bits of paper and bone folders and scissors and all the rest of it, don't worry. I mean, I can talk and craft at the same time, but I have a microphone, whereas you guys would have to do the typing. So, Although one of the things that I am hoping to do, I did it with my team recently. We had an online team gathering where we used Zoom and we all crafted along together. And I'm thinking that that's something that I could do with my lovely customers and followers as well. It doesn't have to be limited to team. Right, I've done all my scoring, done my cutting. Now it's time to do my gluing. So I'm using Tombow for this whole project. You could use other glues if you preferred. You could use Tear Tape, you could use Seal Plus. It's very good for boxes. But I actually found the Tombow was fine. Tombow is very forgiving. It allows you to move things around if you need to. And it's very cost effective as well. The price of Tombow for what you get for the amount in the bottle is very good. I use a lot of Tombow. The thing I wouldn't use Tombow for would be ribbon. If I'm sticking ribbon down onto a card, I would use Tear Tape for that usually. You're going to give yours away. You've made 16 tags already. Well done, Debbie. Gold star. Very impressed. Right. I've glued together both of my cherry cobbler ones. So now let's repeat the process with my shaded spruce. What do we think of the colours, guys? Shaded spruce and cherry cobbler? I think they're lovely Christmassy shades, but can you see yourself doing this box in different colours? Oh, do you know it would be a nice birthday one, wouldn't it? Or you could do it with, you can make the drawers bigger and put like little notelets inside. That might be a project for next year. I'm just thinking a gift to give to somebody, like a year's worth of cards in a little gift box. Would be a nice idea. But when it comes to Christmas colours, I'm really, really loving the shaded spruce and cherry cobbler combination. I do love real red. I'm always going to love real red. Real red and old olive is one of these timeless colour combinations that you get at Christmas. You just can't go wrong. Mossy Meadow is not a shade of green I use a lot of at Christmas, but I am not denying its appeal. What are the other reds? We've got Poppy Parade. We used Poppy Parade a bit at the weekend for some of our quick and easy cards. I should point out as well, for those of you who are thinking about signing up to my mailing list, I am going to be sending through each week crafting instructions, and the first ones for the ones up into Christmas are going to be the quick and easies, because let's face it, we all need extra Christmas cards this time of year, don't we? Right, what you should have at this point then is 4 little drawers. The next step is to assemble the drawer sleeves. So what we need for this is our 4 rectangles. So these are our long pieces that are 21 centimeters wide. So the width of A4 by 10 centimeters. So this is what we want. I'm going to start with cherry cobbler. Let's bring back my trimmer. And you're going to score. Now, I'm going to score the first one at 2.2 centimeters. Okay. Score, score, score. Don't cut. Then, because I find this is the easiest way for me to do it, I do the 2.2 up at the top, but I turn the whole thing 180 degrees. So that's the bit that I've just done. That's score. I mean, if you want, you can put it in and score it to 2.2, but I find having the big bit at the top is just a faff. So the first little bit there is 2.2. Next, you're going to take it to 8.9. Then you're going to do to 11.1, 17.8, and then you're going to cut at 19.9. Don't worry about I'm going to put my cutting blade back in again. Don't worry about remembering all of these measurements. As I say, you can get all the instructions on my website completely free of charge. I'll put the link in the comments and you can go to the page and pop in your email address and I will email these out to you. Right, your score lines. Let me find my bone folder. and show you what this is going to look like. Because the sides are not identical. So please watch before you glue these down. Okay? You're going to have this sleeve. Now, these pieces are very slightly different. You want to have the longer piece underneath. So when you stick that sleeve on, it's going to have a tiny little notch. Let's see if I can show you that in the camera. See? So the bigger piece goes all the way, I'm trying to get this to, goes all the way inside. And then there's just a tiny centimetre, tiny millimetre piece there. Now the reason that I want to do this is because I want my box, now actually am I doing it that way around or am I doing it this way around? Nope, do it the other way around. So the little bit goes inside and the big bit goes on the outside, because then you'll get a box which is perfectly rectangular and your drawer will fit inside it nicely. When I was designing this, it was a real faff because the first two, it didn't look right when the drawer went inside. There was like a bulge at the top or the bottom. So this is the way you want to do it. The larger piece goes to the outside. So when you do these together, actually the easiest way to do this is to fold it, okay? You fold it, this piece here, there's a millimetre gap between this piece and the crease, but that piece goes over and it lines up perfectly with your score line. All right, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to put Tombow on this. One of the ways that you should know that your box is right, so as I say, you should do it completely flat to glue it down, but you should be able to fold it, glue it down that way, but you should be able to fold it around the other way and it's still completely flat. That means it's going to be perfectly rectangular and your drawer will fit perfectly inside. Okay, it's snug, it's a nice snug drawer, but it's got just a little gap round. That's why it's got these weird measurements, okay? If you have your drawer and your sleeve that aren't this snug, then they'll just fall apart all the time. Okay, that was the first one. Let me do the next one. So, beginning again, scoring at 2.2. Turning that around completely. And scoring at 8.9. 11.1, 17.8, and then cutting at 19.9. There we go. I know these measurements sound weird, but believe me, I tried so many variations when I was designing this because I wanted to get it right and I wanted it to be nice and snug and fit correctly. So 2.2, 8.9, 11.1, score, 17.8, and then cut at 19.9. Last one, score at 2.2, turn around, score at 8.9, 11.1, 17.8, 19.9. The last one, remember, 19.9, we cut. Cool. Let's pop that down. There we go. Right, so I'm going to use my bone folder along all of these score lines for all of my drawers. And now let's do my gluing. So I want so when I fold it, basically I want to fold it and be able to see just a millimetre between the edge and that first hinge, because then my score, this edge will line up perfectly with that score. See, let's glue that down. And again, check it so that it goes in the other direction. That's a good indication of things being completely square, completely the same size on both sides, if you can do that alternated there. Next drawer in. Plus all your drawers should fit in nice and snug. If they don't fit in snug, something's gone wrong. There we go. I wonder if you can see clearer on that one. Do you see when that goes down, it doesn't go flush right up against the edge? See if I show you in the other direction. That one, it covers my score line. I can't even see it, so I know that's the wrong direction. So I do it the other way. I can see my score line, and then when this goes on, it's just nice and flush. So that's how I can tell. Now, if we were at the retreat, I would be saying, if you're not sure, put your hand up. Jen and I will come over and help and show you what to go, which way to do it. This way, I'm afraid you're just going to have to watch. But don't worry, we're already planning the next retreat. We are looking at the projects. We've got a venue. So if you are crafty and interested in doing more projects like this, then consider coming along to our retreat in March. It is, I believe it is the 2nd and 3rd of March. Somebody might want to correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the 2nd and 3rd. There we go. Right. So now you have 4 little boxes, sleeves with drawers in them, with the little notches to pull them all out. Having a look at time. Doing not too bad for time at the moment, actually. Our next step is to make the base that these drawers are going to get stuck onto. So you have 2 pieces of cherry cobbler and 2 large squares of cherry cobbler and 2 large squares of shaded spruce. And on both of them, you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to take a generous amount of glue. I want to make sure that I'm nice at the edges. You don't want the glue to seep out over the edges, but you do want to make sure your edges are nicely firmly down. And you're going to line that up centrally. Again, this is one of these reasons why Tombows are a really good idea to use, because if it's squint or if it's not centered, you can move it around, have it the way you want it to be. I'm going to show you another tip as well for getting these perfectly centered. So we know that they're both squares, and we want to have the same width around our 2 squares. Just making sure I've got glue all the way around. So when I'm lining this up, what I'm doing is I'm kind of gauging along this left-hand side, and I'm putting that down. I want this gap, so the gap between the left-hand side of the cherry cobbler and the left-hand side of the shaded spruce, to be the same width as the gap between the 2 top pieces and the gap between the 2 bottom pieces, because I know, oh, move up to allow the end flat bit. You're like, oh, right. Sorry, Debbie. I'll try and keep things onto the grid paper. we go. So you have two squares that look exactly the same. One of them we're just going to put to one side because that's going to be our lid. This one we want to have to be, we're going to have as our base. All right. So you're going to take your 4 drawers and you're going to position them like this. You want to make sure that the little tab notches poke to the outside, but if they don't, it's not the end of the world because you can pull the drawers out and put them back in again. So again, you want to make sure that the gap between the drawers and the edges, let's see if I can tilt this slightly. So this bit here, you will be able to see the shaded spruce sticking out, but you're going to have the same width. So you've got this, what is that, about half? Yeah, you've got about ½ centimetre showing of cherry cobbler, and you're going to have again about ½ centimetre showing of shaded spruce before your drawers come in and cover up. And you're going to have that all the way around. You're going to have this kind of square hole in the middle. That's exactly how it should be. So once you've lined up your drawers, you've got them where you want them to be, take one of the drawers and put glue all over the bottom of it. Sorry, one of the sleeves. You're putting the glue on the bottom of the sleeves. Keep the drawer in the sleeve though, because it makes it a bit firmer and therefore it's easier to line up and to position. So I'm going to put that there. I've just kind of placed it quite lightly for just now because I still want to be able to move them around and wriggle them around if I need to. This one I put at the top. See, I think I want to move that one up slightly. There we go. Then I'm going to do the third one. There, and then the final piece goes on the bottom, your final sleeve with the glue on it slips into place like so. Okay, so once you've got all of those in place, what I would recommend at this point is to kind of hold the center and gently pull the drawers out. Because once you've pulled the drawer out, you can push the whole thing flat and just push that down to make sure it's properly glued. I'm going to do the same with this one. Push it down flat. Same with that one. Push it down flat. And this one. Push it down flat. Okay, and that way you can properly rub everything down. Make sure that it is well and truly glued. There you go. Okay, put all your drawers back in again. You could actually alternate like a cherry cobbler drawer with a shaded spruce sleeve and vice versa. I've stuck to matching colours. Notch wants to be on the other side. But you could mix and match them if you wanted to. It's your project, you get to choose. Okay, once you've put them all back in, putting the drawers in helps with this next bit, because now we're going to put glue on the tops of all the sleeves. The drawers inside just make it a little bit sturdier. There we go. And you're going to take your other piece. Now you want to make sure that you've got it cherry cobbler facing down and shaded spruce facing up. If you do it that way, then there really was no point putting the shaded spruce on. So make sure you do it this way up. And you want to line it up with your base. The easiest way to do that is to turn the whole thing on its side and make sure that those bits are flat, and then turn it to its quarter and make sure that those bits are flat. And that way you should end up with something which is equal at all sides. There we go, with your drawers in the middle. Okay, now it's just decorating. So we're going to take our 6" by 6" square of DSP and we're just going to stick it to the top. Lots more Tombow. I told you the Tombow was getting a good workout tonight. There we go. Again, do that same trick as I showed you before. You know that you want to have it the same width from the side as it is from the top and the bottom. So make sure you've got those 3 measurements all the same, and then that should be it in the center. Okay, press that down. Don't push too hard, you're still being gentle when you're sticking things down. Now the next piece you're putting on is your gold DSP. Now, because I'm really stingy, and I know that this gold piece is just going to get covered up with that white piece, there's this huge bit in the middle that's not going to get used. So I'm going to cut it out. So what I'm going to do, this piece is 5" by 5". I'm going to take it up to 1 inch. I'm going to take my trimmer, which says 1 inch is on it, to 1 inch. And I'm going to cut to 4. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. This is what's known as gutting. And it's where you cut a shape out of the center of a layer because you know it's going to be covered up and you don't want to waste anything. And I don't like wasting. To be fair, yes, I have wasted the other bit of DSP by sticking it down. You could gut both bits of DSP if you chose, but it's really for the specialty DSP that is really fancy and shimmery that I want to make sure that I save. Don't mean to upset or offend the other piece of DSP. Right. Put your Tombow all the way around the edges of your, what is at this point, a DSP frame. Make sure you get those corners nice and glued. And then let's put that on here, like so. And then my basic white square. Lots of squares on this project. I'm going to layer that on top. There we go. There we go. Right. I'm just going to put that to one side for the moment. The next pieces that I'm going to use is one of my 5½, just one of them, my 5½ by 5½ squares, because that fits onto there quite nicely. And then my 10½ by 10½. Now, what I'm going to do with my 10½ and my 10½, and for those of you who are at the retreat, you will have some adhesive sheets in your pack that we gave you. This is the piece that you want to use the adhesive sheets for. So I know that that's 10½ by 10½, so I'm going to cut these to 10. Will that be, yeah, it's about right. So I've cut that strip that's 10 centimeters, and I'm going to stick 2 of these strips onto my shaded spruce square. So one piece goes like that. Doesn't matter if they're not perfectly at all of the edges, it will still be fine, do not worry. There we go. And then the die that we're going to use, so these dies are from the Christmas Classics dies. These were the dies that were provided to those who came to the retreat, and we're going to cut that out of our shaded spruce piece. Now, I was explaining this at the retreat, and I'm going to say it to you guys as well. when you're running a decorative piece like this, especially one that's square, if you put it onto your cutting plate like that and push it in, when the roller goes over it, it's only going to reach these points once. If you do it at a diagonal, it will distribute the pressure more evenly as you go, and you will get a better cut. Having said that, I'm still going to run this through twice because it is quite an intricate piece, and there is the adhesive sheet on the back as well, so it's more than just cardstock, which means it's worth my while to run this through twice, so once in each direction. So that's it from right to left. Let's do it again now, from left to right. And that should, she says hopefully and optimistically, be enough for it to cut out properly. If you're not sure, turn it over first, have a look. All of these pieces look all right to me. So now, proof is in the pudding. Let's try and peel this off. This is such a beautiful die. And we used it a lot at the retreat in lots of different ways. Sometimes we cut it up. Sometimes we left it as it was. But I think it was always very well received. There we go. And then I'm just going to use my pokey tool to cut out these little pieces. Now, when we used it at the retreat, these little pieces just fell out by themselves quite happily, as is testament by the amount that was all over the floor. But it's fine. They actually hoovered for us in between the 2 days, which was really nice of them. The other thing about the retreat, which I have to say I really enjoyed, the food was fabulous. Had some really, really nice meals on the Friday night and the Saturday night. At the retreat, there was quite a few of us that stayed over in the hotel in between on the Saturday night and before the Sunday, but equally there was other people who were doing the day, just coming each day, but they still joined us in the evening for a nice meal. It's always optional if you choose to do that, but I think we all had a really fun time. It was nice chatting to people, getting to know them a bit better, and having some very interesting conversations. I know there was some people that brought their partners with them, so like my mum came with my dad, and other people who brought other friends or family members with them who are maybe not into the retreat, into the crafting side of things, but they like staying in a nice hotel, and especially some of the hotels we've been in have got like nice swimming pools and things like that, so fun for all the family. 'Tis worth noting that these retreats, they are 18 plus, so we can't do children for insurance purposes, but we are very happy to welcome lots of people to our retreats. And we can make different accommodations for people who are in wheelchairs or who have different needs. If you have any questions, please just get in touch. For the people who were at the retreat, you should have received an email with all the instructions, making sure that all the measurements were 100% accurate. And we've also asked you to complete a short survey. There's really not that many questions, just so that we can find out what you liked, what went well, and what we should try and improve for next time, because we are always open to feedback and suggestions, so that we can keep doing this bigger and better each time. Right, there you go. Now peeling off the adhesive sheets means that when it comes to sticking this piece down, it just makes it so much easier. And I'm going to line it up so that it's centralized or centered like that. And then look at that, those adhesive sheets just really take the job of sticking that down and make it easy. Ooh, tiny little piece that I've missed. Too busy gabbing, that's my problem. There we go. Oh, and there's another tiny little piece. You see that? I'm getting too busy distracted by chatting to folk. There we go. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them now. No more little escapee pieces. There we go. So that's in the centre. One thing I will say is one of my lovely friends used the same design and made a card with the same sort of idea, which is absolutely gorgeous. So although I've used this to make a box, you could equally make a tag, make a card with it. So, right, my 5.5 by 5.5 square. I'm going to run through. This is another one of the dies out of that same pack. So the Christmas classics, and it just trims off those corners. Yes, you could just cut it with scissors. I won't tell if you don't. I am going to just pick up all these little pieces, put them in my bin. Because if I don't, they'll end up all over the floor. Then I'll need to get the hoover out. Life's too short to hoover. There's more crafting to be done. There we go. Next, I'm taking my Joy of Noel stamp set, and specifically the Noel piece of it. Now, you could stamp and then cut out with a shape, and to be honest, that might be more sensible, but I've done it this way around. So let's find my Cherry Cobbler ink pad. And then I'm going to stamp that onto my piece of white. There we go, happy with that. And then this goes onto my square of Cherry Cobbler. Just with Tombow, like so. Right, and then this piece sticks on with foam pads this time rather than with Tombow. I know everything else is flat, but I wanted to have something with a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to put a foam pad in each corner, one in the centre as well. Pull these pieces off. Ah, you're running ahead, Debbie. Don't worry. Trust the process. I know what I'm doing. Trust the process. This fits on to the top of the box. And then I've got, so these are the loose holly gems and sequins. And what I want to do is I'm going to put tiny little dots of glue at the bottom here, and then using my Take a Pick tool just to pick up some of these gems, stick them on in that direction there as well. There we go. I've got 3 gems there. Let's just put a couple more bits of glue there, because now that's going to be my holly leaves. Go on like that. You know, I see the Tombow is very forgiving and you can move around it a lot. Sometimes you don't want it to move it around a lot. There you go. The final thing that I'm doing is just putting little dots of glue at random points around my shaded spruce frame. And that's where I'm going to place some of these gems. So put that one there. These gems are so cute. The good thing about Tombow as well is that it dries clear. So even if you've got glue on or around the outside of your gems, it's going to dry clear, so it's not going to be noticeable. So don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. I think the gems just give a little je ne sais quoi, as the French would say. Plus, you know what I'm like, you can't go wrong with a bit of bling. There we go. What do you think? Too much? Too few? Would you have put on more than that? Did you put on less than that? That's how I've decorated it. That's the top of my box. And now it's time to do the tag. So, this is our tag shape. You're going to take your remaining pieces. You should have 2 pieces of shaded spruce and 2 pieces of cherry cobbler. You should have 4 rectangles of basic white, and you should have 4 squares of basic white. Now these squares are going to get cut out using the same tag as I used for the Noel on top, which is here somewhere, unless I have accidentally swallowed it. There it is. There you go. Now what you can do with these for speed is you can cut these out 2 at a time, because the basic white is very thin. The other thing though that you're going to do is you're going to cut out with some shaded spruce the little sprigs here. Now you will have lots of pieces of shaded spruce left over. So I'm going to again use my adhesive sheets. So that piece I've got here is about 1.25 inches, so I'm just going to cut this to 1 inch. I'm only going to make 1 tag to show you how it's done. I'm not going to make all 4 of them or 8 of them or 16. Stebby's done. The reason that I'm doing this just now is because I'm going to run the leaves through, sprigs through at the same time as my basic white, maximising what goes through my cut and emboss. Just time saving really. So let's line this up right on the bottom. I'm going to do 2 of these at a time. Remember how I said if you're using something that's a square, put it in at a point. It's going to get you a better cut. So I'm going to do that here. And then I'm going to use, for this, it actually comes with 2 sprigs. So you can cut both of these at the same time. I've put my adhesive sheets on one side, and I'm just going to line these up like so. You fit more on if you do them diagonally. I'm going to push this through. And this should all just work at 1 pass. I'm not going to do this backwards and forwards. Am I? No, I'll do it 2 passes. Because the sprigs are, they've got lots of little bits. Let's push that down. So I've got my 2 little basic white squares. Got my set of sprigs. Let's just pop these out. Put that to one side. Yeah, you see most of these pieces have just fallen out running it through twice did make that easier. And as always, the trickiest thing about using adhesive sheets, I know you've heard me say this before, the trickiest thing is remembering to use them. So just make sure that you put your adhesive sheets on before you run it through. And the tip, of course, for that is to keep some of the adhesive sheets in the plastic wallet with your dies. And then as soon as you reach for the dies, you're going, oh yeah, I need to have the adhesive sheets. So, right, let's get my Noel. Ha! Now you see, I was gonna wash it because it's got cherry cobbler on it, and I want to do that in shaded spruce. But let's just use the dye in the other direction. Let's just stick to cherry cobbler. You can see how that one looks with the shaded spruce and the cherry cobbler base. This one I'm going to do cherry cobbler with a shaded spruce base. Although now it occurs to me that the sprigs, should have done the sprigs in cherry cobbler rather than shaded spruce. I think cherry cobbler sprigs would have looked strange. I think I will still keep the sprigs this colour. I think I'm going to. Got my stamp there. I'm going to stick this onto my tag. I'm going to stick it down so that the bottom, that bit there, is the same width as left and right. A quick measure of mine to see what it is Debbie's talking about. She's absolutely right. So we're going to trim our tags to 9.5. I should know by now that when Debbie points something out, she is usually right. Now, when I did this diagonal, I'll line up the first one because I'm pretty sure I remember how I did it. Yeah. To do the diagonal bits in the corner, I just lined this up with that first. So these bits on my trimmer, so I've got 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, just lined that up to the first one and then did the same in the other direction. Lined it up like so. Then to make the hole, I'm going to use my Crop-A-Dile. So this is my jumbo hole punch. Do the hole before you stick the sprigs on because it will help you know where to position your sprigs. Yeah, I still think the shaded spruce looks right. Yeah. Then I'm going to stick my shaded spruce sprigs on. Try and say that 10 times fast. And they're going to overlap slightly at the top. This is perfectly normal. That's how it was designed. Now, before you put the gems on, you want to take one of your rectangles and stick it to the back because it is easier to stamp. In fact, you know what, just stamp the to and from just now before you stick it on, because if you stick it on and then you try and stamp the to and from and the other side is too bumpy and uneven, it's not going to work, or it's not going to work easily. This is another one of these ask me how I know moments. An awful lot of trial and error goes into making these projects for you guys, you know. There we go. Here's my to and from. You know what, it's slightly squint. Cardstock's got two sides for a reason. Let me try and do this a bit straighter this time. There we go, much better. Isn't it handy that we've got double-sided cardstock? Now, going to stick that on. Like so. There you go. And then just a little bit of gold ribbon. Now the way that I did this, did I say how long a piece of ribbon I used? I don't think so. I think it was about 10 centimetres. Yeah, 10 centimetres of ribbon. Fold it in half. And I've done the points like that, although I'm going to end up just neatening them once this bit's done. Fold it in half, poke both ends through the hole, and then bring it up and tuck them through the loop. I've been very stingy with my ribbon. Don't do 10 centimetres, maybe do 12. So you have slightly longer bits of ribbon. It's very pretty ribbon. It deserves to go out there in the world and be loved by lots of people. There we go. Once you've done that though, you will find that those edges just need to be trimmed again to neaten them up. Not by much, admittedly, but just a little bit. There we go. And then the very, very final touches, more of our gems. So, Blitz Tombow. Let's get a gem. You get loads of gems in the box, so you can have more than enough to do all of your projects. And you'll probably have some left over as well. There we go. Okie dokie. So that's all I'm going to do tonight. I'm not going to make all of the tags, but you can see here how they look in both the shaded spruce and the cherry cobbler. You can see the box itself, and then our little drawers that our tags sit in like that. And I'll put another tag in this one here. And there you go. What do you think? Do you like it? A couple of people in the comments saying that they enjoy it. I hope you have fun. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you have fun making it. Let me just flick back to me for this bit. So there we go. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's project. I had a lot of fun designing it, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to show it to you. If you were at the retreat, then you already have your instructions that we gave you the printed copies of, and you've also got electronic versions of those that have come through in email yesterday. If you don't have the instructions and you would like them, I will put the link in the comments to my blog, where if you sign up to my mailing list, you can receive these instructions by email. I'm going to be opening that list up until Friday, and then on Friday evening I will email everybody who's signed up with a copy of these instructions, and that way you can get your creative fix at the weekend. You can go back and watch this video either on Facebook or on YouTube if you like. And as always, if you've got any questions or you want to ask something, then please get in touch. And if you do make this project, please share in the comments photos and pictures of the stuff that you make. I love seeing what you make and what you're inspired to do with some of these creations. Okay, I think that's been good going. It's been a bumper Facebook Live this week. I will see you all back next week, and in between time, happy crafting.